Cut to the Chase with Jen and Dan. My name is Dan Ferullo, and my lovely co-host here is Jennifer Freed. How are you today?
I'm excellent.
That's wonderful. Did I mention this is episode 11?
It's episode 11.
Episode 11 today.
Happy first day of school for many people.
Oh, how about that? I guess I don't even know since I don't have any children.
Did you bring your lunchbox to the recording session?
I always bring my lunchbox with me. It's a very large cooler that goes with me everywhere. So I'm always prepared for food because that's the most important thing of the day.
All right, snack time for everyone.
Yes. All right, so I guess school is starting. Fall is almost here. So here in the real estate space, we are looking forward to kicking ass on the fourth quarter and moving forward into next year. So yeah, I'm personally looking forward to fall now that summer is almost over. You know, we're just before Labor Day now, and
it feels like fall. We're in fake fall. So what I'm expecting is
chilly in the morning,
chilly Labor Day weekend, and maybe sometime next week the Gen Weather Report says we're gonna get summer rebooted, really, really hot, and then we'll get actual fall much later. Just a prediction based in no science whatsoever, but I'm enjoying fake fall right now.
Cool. Well, let's jump in. So we have 3 great articles for you today. So number 1, appraisals may soon not be required on certain home sales of $400,000 and under.
I love it.
This is a HousingWire.com article. So a couple things that this is not saying. So this is not saying that that appraisals will be not used on any homes that are costing under $400,000. So if you are getting a loan through FHA or VA or any loan that is going to be purchased by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So basically, there's a large percentage of homes that this rule is not going to affect.
And this rule hasn't been completely
fully approved. Right.
It's coming down the pike. We're hoping it'll get voted on and be approved. But if it does, what it means is for more houses than currently allowed, they won't be required to be appraised. Many houses, when purchased with a loan, have to be appraised so that the lender knows if the person buying defaults on their loan, what the bank thinks they can easily recoup in the way of funds. So they are sending out an appraiser to come up with a version of cost for the house, which may look a little bit different from what the real estate market is showing is market value. Usually they're close, but not always.
No, not always. So it looks like the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corp, and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency and the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve in November, they released this proposal that would increase the appraisal requirements from $250,000 to $400,000. So certain homes below $400,000 would no longer require an appraisal. So earlier this week, the FDIC published the final rule on the matter, stating that the rule is approved as proposed. So the FDIC, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, have all said yes. They think that this is great, and then they're waiting on the Fed to vote on it. So we should hear some news about that in the next few weeks on whether that is going to go into effect. The last time that this was changed, in 1994, the limit went from $100,000 to $250,000, which is where it is today. And they're actually saying in this article that it will affect fewer homes than it did in 1994 when they changed it. There are, of course, as with any change, there are people who are strongly for, and there are some people who are strongly against it. And the article talks a little bit more about those who are for. You know, there's lots of. Let me find where it was at. Sorry.
While Dan's picking through that, the average home cost across the United States is in the 300,000. So one thing that's good about this is raising it to 400,000. It would include more homes that are, the average home purchaser is purchasing. So more benefits for more people that are in these qualifying loan programs.
Yeah, absolutely. So those who are for the change in the rules, lots of financial institutions, state banking regulators generally supported the proposal, and then, as one would assume, appraisers and their appraiser trade organizations generally oppose the proposal. Of course, appraisers are thinking that they would have fewer jobs and fewer appraisals that they need to do, so that certainly affects their business, which is certainly not good.
That's interesting to me because I did look into going into appraising as part of real estate business.
It's a tough business to.
It's very difficult to get business to get into these days, and few companies are training the future appraisers because the rules around appraising became so strict after the last crash, caused by the mortgage industry, that it's almost become a prohibitive industry to get into. I'm grossly generalizing, but it surprises me a little bit that they would be against it, because I don't think that they have a plethora of people getting into the business as it is, so I don't think it would be preventing people. However, I might be a little ignorant on the topic, and it might be the last rule, of perhaps what some might feel is an over-legislated industry. So one more rule that just might, put the last nail in the coffin.
Yeah, right. And I think in the Seacoast area, we don't really see this happening very much on homes. There are very few homes that are selling under $250,000 right now, and even fewer of those who sell at that price that are not being sold to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So I've never personally sold a house under $250,000 that didn't require an appraisal. So here I don't know that we would really be seeing much of a change, especially maybe if we were going up to $400,000. There are those who would be putting 20% down using a portfolio lender or something like that. That may they may get an appraisal waiver or something like that. But I don't think that overall that this will affect us here very much. But it would certainly save the buyers money because an appraisal costs $450. So that would be something that would be a little bit of an out-of-pocket savings to them. So yeah, it certainly we'll be watching to see what happens, and we'll be interested to see how it plays out.
All right. What else you got there for us, Dan?
Ooh, so this one's kind of fun.
Oh yeah, I like this one. I picked this one up.
A young woman's tiny house was rejected in Hampton Falls. So I'm sure many of you have heard about tiny houses and how there's kind of been a little bit of a craze that sweeps the nation. I think partly thanks to HGTV, where I think they have a whole show on tiny homes.
Yeah, and even just the lifestyle idea that we can get away with less, that maybe less is more. So there are some folks that are seeking a lifestyle. Perhaps, a decade ago, homes with 5 bedrooms and a 3-car garage were very attractive. Maybe now we're seeing in some areas three bedrooms and a 2-car garage. More buyers are seeking for a lot of reasons. Less is more is becoming one that we're hearing. Easy to maintain, not wanting as many possessions, that kind of stuff. So like the extreme version of this is the tiny home idea, where you literally just live with exactly what you need. And that also goes in line with areas that can be pricey to find housing in. A tiny home is a very affordable option if you can find a place to put it.
Well, I think that's really the question. So that's kind of where this controversy came up in this Hampton Falls zoning board of adjustments meeting, where they actually denied this young girl. Her name is Brianna O'Brien. She needed approval of 2 variances to make a permanent home in her tiny home, which was located on her parents' property. So she had the house there for a little while, and then she was told that it wasn't legally allowed to be there. So she's been trying to work with the town, and it seems like she really does want to work with them to try to figure out a way that this can work. But a couple of issues: the electric is hooked up to her parent through an extension cord from her parents' house. The water is a hose coming from the spigot of her parents' home as well. So it's not officially hooked up to the utilities. She does have some interesting thing for it said for the toilet. I didn't know.
It's sort of camping related.
It really is
it's
like
a
camping,
green
I guess.
toilet kind
yeah.
of thing.
So but there's no, it's not hooked up to a septic system. But then also, you think about if her parents' home has a 3-bedroom septic and there's a 3-bedroom home, and then you add another little house to that could be overloading their septic system with other things running through it. So there certainly, I think, are good reasons for them to be more a little bit more stringent on whether they're allowing it.
Yeah, and I think that some homeowners, if you have a nice large private lot in a more rural community in New Hampshire, I think that there can be some frustration on the part of homeowners that what they can and cannot do on their own property is being legislated.
Sure.
I think a tiny home is different from a business.
Yeah.
I think it's different from an Airbnb where you're collecting rent.
Yeah.
I think the points you're making are valid, but we are also the live free or die state, so it really is a hot topic, I can see arguments from both sides being pretty valid.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, it sounds as if the town of Hampton Falls, they were impressed with Brianna's with her
Her presentation.
Well, yeah, with her presentation and the way she came about it. She was certainly trying to work with them, and she was trying to work. She said and part of it's the safety is the reasons why it was denied, and she was trying to work with them if they would allow it to be there. She was trying to work with them to get the safety up, and they didn't end up approving it. So I was doing a little bit more research into tiny homes after I was reading this. So there are some states that allow. There are some states that have they are happy to have these tiny homes on there, but it's the building codes and the zoning, and I think the building codes is really where the safety stuff is where it really needs to be figured out so that everything can be. So if people are living in these homes, that they can get out in case there's a fire.
Absolutely.
Or that the electricity, because it's just an unprotected wire running up, that it's not going to cause a fire.
And proximity to other buildings or proximity to nature.
Exactly, and sewage disposal and water. Where they're going to get the water. So I think it certainly is a great idea trying to live with less. Certainly not what I would want to do, but some people are all about that, and I think that's great. I went to visit my cousin in Lebanon last weekend, and driving down 89, I saw a guy pulling a tiny house behind it, and the license plate was Tiny Haus, like Haus. So if your house is on wheels, you have to register it as an RV or a camper type thing.
Yeah.
And they have to go through inspections for that as well. So I thought that was interesting. But this was really nice. It had gables, and it almost looked like it had a balcony. I don't think you could actually get out there, but it was windows and a little balcony area. It was a very interesting. They did a nice job with the design element on this one that I had seen. But so some states that are there are certain, not all areas you're allowed to have these homes, but there are some counties in these states that are allowing people to have whole communities of the tiny homes. So they're trying to do different things to make this work. So California, Colorado, Florida, Massachusetts, Michigan, New York, Oregon, Texas, all of those areas or all of those states do have some variances allowing allowing people to have tiny homes.
Yeah, California even has some where they'll allow for a caregiver
Oh, yeah.
to have one specifically. It's almost like a variance you can get if you are helping to care for an older relative, which is almost the reverse of having an in-law apartment. It's,
Right.
it's almost like a little spot for you to be so you can take care of an aging relative if needed. So
yeah, so it's very interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they do that too in the coming future.
yeah, let us know what you think about tiny
Yeah,
homes. Give us
actually
the,
that was what I was thinking
thumbs
earlier. I was
up,
thinking,
thumbs
yeah,
down.
you need to say, please let us know. We'd love to hear what you think about it. Do you want to build a tiny house? Have you thought of it? Do you have one? We'd love to hear about that. So please leave us a comment. So moving on.
Oh, this is so cool. It's a neat idea.
So Landis, which is a Stanford real estate startup, they raised $15 million to put Americans on the path to homeownership. So these
They're tech gurus. They have algorithmed their booties off and come up with this way that if you are close to being able to afford a home via a mortgage, let's say you're within a year, you don't have all the money together, your credit's close but not quite, they have an algorithm that figures out which people should be worked with from the lending perspective, and what they'll do is their company will buy the house that they want to buy, rent it to the people in their program, and then after that set amount of time, let's say the algorithm determines that it's going to take 11 months for the people that applied for the program to be ready to buy that house. They'll rent that house to them for 11 months, and at the end of 11 months, they'll have completed the financial work with Landis, and then they'll own that house. Kind of a cool idea.
It is a cool idea. I think that so these two guys, Cyril Berdugo, hopefully I'm saying that right, and Tom Pettit, hopefully I'm saying that right as well. They are familiar with the real estate space. They're familiar with technology and building this algorithm. I think it was like data was what it said their specialties are. They're just trying to help people to get into homes that aren't able to, and rent. People are, and I think one of their big arguments too is that you're paying $1,400 for rent where you could have a mortgage that costs you $700. So it's just insane, and it really is insane, the difference between that what people are paying for rent in lots of areas of the country, especially here in the Seacoast. Rent prices are through the roof.
Yeah, they're over twice what a mortgage would be on many homes here, even with the house pricing being robust.
Yeah, so it's definitely a great idea in order to work with buyers to be able to get them into a home that they never would have thought that they would be able to get into. So yeah, I think that they're doing a great thing trying to get these rejected homeowners into homes.
Yeah, and I like that it's not an all or none approach. I feel like sometimes folks want to go buy, they go to the lender, they're like, nope, can't do it, and then it's like all for naught. I like that there's a plan in place, and someone says, great, right now didn't work, but let's have this plan. Landis has this method of dealing with it. There are a few very good lenders around here that will actually make a plan with you, are ready to buy, and a few great realtors that'll work a plan with a lender and a realtor, so that
it's basically like a rent to own scenario. But so I have a couple of questions that I have, like what happens if the buyers are not in a place to make that purchase after a year? Do they continue to rent for another year? Do they extend the contract? How does this company make money? Which of course as a company they certainly have a right to do. I'm just curious how that works in order, like whether they're...
I would need to do more research, obviously, but I presume that the lending rates might not be the lowest, so there may be, you're paying a little bit more of a fee over the long-term life of the loan,
Hmm.
so that you can get into your house.
Well, and it says that they buy the house in cash. So I'm wondering maybe so they pay them their rent and then that goes towards the down payment.
So there's some money
And so
juggling
there's
there.
got to be some money juggling there, and then when the buyers go to get the mortgage, I'm wondering, like, are they paying a little bit higher? Are they paying market rate? Are they paying what they paid? So all certain questions. I think this is a great thing that they're trying to do, but definitely have a few questions on it. So it'd be good to get a little bit more information.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all articulated in the contract. So I'm sure there
Of
are
course,
some
yeah, of course.
protections. You know, you are giving up something by having this company provide this service for you.
Yep.
But if it's the chance to build equity for yourself and get out of a rent situation, a lot of times that's going to be a good trade. But
Yeah, absolutely.
read all your contracts, and if you don't know what they say, find a professional that can
Yeah.
help you read them,
Yeah,
so
so-
you understand what you're getting into.
Absolutely. So we will link this and all articles up on the show notes. Shout out to Landis. Great job for what you're doing. We're looking forward to see how that works out.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So thank you so much for tuning in. We would love to hear from you. A review or comments on the show notes or the Facebook page or wherever. Yeah, we would love to hear from you. Thanks so much for listening and have a great day.
Yeah, have a good Labor Day weekend, everyone.